Hey, welcome to Elevating Your Voice. This is Monday, November 24th. It's the week of Thanksgiving, and we have the highly sought after, took some poking and prodding to get her on the show, but here she is, Destiny Northington, and she's going to dazzle with all her insight, information, how she's been building her business from actually starting with renters, which we all know is just an absolute pain in the ass. But Destiny's like, why not? Let's just start that way. So she's going to build this massive empire, like we said on the little trailer. She's going to be the what did I say, Oprah Winfrey of the real estate world. So, welcome, Destiny. Thank you for taking time out of your busy, hectic life and getting out of your comfort zone and coming and joining Marco and I to talk about how you elevate your business with, all the things. So, Marco,
Yeah,
fire away,
thank
man.
you.
Thanks again, Destiny. I guess I always like to start off, just give us a little bit of background of how you got into real estate and how long you've been doing it, and then we could just take it from there. Can you just give us a little bit of your background?
Yeah. So I graduated from ASU, but I also went to U of A. So I always joke that I'm a wild devil. So I have
Oh,
a background in tourism,
really?
special event planning. Yep. So I have that background. And then COVID hit, so events stopped. So I couldn't really do events at that time. So I kind of pivot, and in January 2021, I got my real estate license. Um, Yeah, so that was great. And I've been doing that ever since. And so, yeah, after a year out of college, then I got my real estate license. So I've been doing that from
So,
now.
so I, we know you as the go-to for renters. Now, when you started, when you got your real estate license, was that the plan, or did you kind of just fall into that? I mean, can you just
Yeah.
walk us through how did this evolution come about?
Yeah. So when I got my license, I literally had no one. Like I said, I was new out of college. All of my friends were new. They were, just out of college. They weren't going to buy a house. So I had no
Hmm.
sphere. So I had no clue what to do. So at that time, I was part of a team, and my team leader, she had a rental background. So like property management background. So she's like, you
Hmm.
should get into this. And I'm a renter. So I was like, you know what? This sounds good. I kind of this is something that I can relate to. So I just really dove into it, and she started sending me all these renter leads, and I just kind of took them and ran.
So
Yeah.
here's the thing. Here's the thing that's cool about you and I, because I don't think you realize we're going to have this parallel. So when I got into real estate, anybody that knew me wasn't going to use me, right? Because they knew
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
And then I didn't have like I knew like Jesse Wolnick, our attorney, for the company. So I knew her back when I started at Century 21. So what always kind of I don't want to say bug me, I don't know the right word, but the thing about Jessie when she got into real estate, she had her mom was working at Wells Fargo or something that was feeding her business. And I always thought, well,
Mm,
that sucks because a lot of us come into this world, real estate world, with knowing no one, right? We don't have the skill set. We don't know how to talk on the phone. We don't know how to, back then you weren't texting. But you didn't have the skills that you necessarily truly need to be a realtor. So you kind of learn by going. And so you have all these epic fails and you learn from those fails and then you start building your business. So when you said that, when you got out of college, you like none of your friends were going to, that's the same. It's the truth, right? Because
yeah,
you're stepping into this unknown world and you think, oh, I got this. And then you realize when you
yeah,
start talking to people like, oh shit, I have no idea what I'm talking about. And you're
yeah,
stumbling and stammering and you're not being effective because you don't know what you're talking about, right? Even though you go to
yeah, yeah.
school and they like paint all these pretty pictures, but it's so different in the real world. So that's kind of neat that we have that little parallel. I think really everybody has that
Yeah,
parallel, but it was the inside of realizing that those that know me weren't going to use me. Those that didn't know me weren't going to use me because I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how
yeah.
to sell it. I didn't. So the fact that you started in the renter game is kind of unique. So yeah, just go ahead from there. I just wanted to kind of give you a little parallel. Like I think that's where everybody starts at some level, right?
Yeah. And I have to say, it really did help me kind of, with communication, kind of helped me,
Mm,
feel a little bit more confident, even though, of course, buying is, higher stakes, but even
sure.
with rentals too, like people are putting a security deposit down. There's still
Mhm.
some money at hand.
Yeah.
So, I just started getting confident and speaking and learning, like zip forms and stuff like that. And so it was a good practice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
So, Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead, Marco.
I was gonna
You're
say,
good.
so just to give everybody a little bit of kind of just where
Insight.
you're at in your business, you told me that you're closing like about 30 rent what was it, 30 renters a year, is that correct?
So last year I did about 50 transactions. Two of those were sales. So
Hmm.
the rest were, actual
Wow.
renters. This year I'm at 37. So I haven't done as many, but I've had more sales this year.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So a lot of the sales this year I've had were past clients or
Wow.
referrals from past clients. So
And that's kind of like the game plan, right?
Hmm.
That's kind of what you're hoping is the game plan is you're basically setting yourself up for success, right? Because you have this amazing pipeline. I mean, to close, 30 plus,
mm,
clients at a renter
yeah.
stage, at some point they're gonna get to hopefully
Hmm.
buy, right? Now,
Yeah.
on that kind of that strain. So a lot of us that we work sales, right?
Mm,
Kind of walk us through like what's the thinking behind some of these renters that like for example, I know they're qualified, I know they want to buy, or
Hmm.
I
mm.
know they can buy, but they choose to rent. So, you working with renters, what what are renters, what's the reasoning that they're wanting to rent instead of buy? Because I know that's kind of something that's emerged.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, like the economy right now, just how a mortgage payment is. You can rent a house in Gilbert for 2,500 a month. And then if you purchase that house, your mortgage is going to be easily like 3,200. So just like the price, that doesn't make sense for them, but they do want to buy. So it's always for me, I tell them, okay, we can do this now, and then we'll work on getting you towards buying. And I always ask them, like, what is their timeline? Like, when do you want to buy? Are you thinking about staying in a rental for another couple years and then wanting to buy? So kind of just like giving an idea and a game plan for them and just kind of like making a mental note, like, okay, they do have this goal later down the road. It's just not going to be right now. So
Yeah, here's
that's
a
kind of
question
my,
for you.
yeah.
So when I've come across first time buyers, because in my career, if until COVID hit, probably if I did 60 deals a year, 35, 40 were first time home buyers. So I loved educating first time home buyers. I loved working with them because nobody else wanted to, because the price point was too low, all that kind of nonsense. To me, it didn't matter what the price point was. Everybody deserves to own a home. So
Mm-hmm.
you made a comment there that kind of struck me. So you can rent for 2,500 as opposed to buy for 3,200. So when you're going through the education of your clients, and I'm thinking now you probably have about 100 or so database, if I'm doing math right, for the amount of time you've been doing it and the amount of renters you have, maybe 100 or so, right?
Yeah.
So when you sit down with them and say, hey, because this is going to start coming up in your world, right? Because as the renters season out and they continue renting, you got to start having the conversation. Hey, look, as you've spent the last 4 years renting, so you've spent
Mm-hmm.
2,500 a month times 12 times four. That's a down payment. I'm like,
Yeah.
you just right.
Yeah.
So do you go down the path of saying, okay, like if I'm your client, okay, Chris, you're comfortable paying 2,500 rent, and if you buy, you got to pay 3,200 a month in rent. So let's look at your budget and see where that $700 can come from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in
Yeah.
my experience with some folks, everybody eats out now instead of cooking at home, right? Everybody
Yeah.
goes to lunch when they and works instead of bringing your lunch. So do you kind of help them kind of look at their budget and say, hey, look, if you just stopped eating out, 5 times a month, and if you took your lunch every day, that's going to make up this big chunk of difference that you're seeing. And then you're investing in your future. You're building your own wealth instead of building Marco's wealth as a landlord. Do you have
Yeah.
that conversation?
Yeah, yeah. It's not a formal conversation. It's more kind of like informal when we're doing showings and stuff like that. That's
Okay.
kind of what I talk about. I'm like, hey, like
Okay.
just so you know, like this is kind of what if you didn't spend money on coffee or Starbucks every day, like you can, own a house. That's where the money does come from. So if we're a little
Right.
frugal, we can definitely do that.
Okay. Okay. I'm responding to Sula. Sorry.
Awesome. Destiny,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I was looking at your notes and your follow-up is amazing. Your follow-up
Thank you.
is really impressive.
So
Uh,
talk about your follow-up.
yeah, talk a little bit about your follow-up. Talk about the process more than anything, because as you talk as you talk it through, we'll notice how often you follow up with each client. And I guess what I'm wondering is, what value are you adding every time you go? Because I run out of value pieces, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be like bothersome or anything. So I'm like, every time I touch somebody, I feel like I need to give them value, right? So
Yeah.
But explain how you follow up because everybody's follow up is different, right? So,
yeah.
I
Mhm.
mean, so take us. So you just closed me. I'm a renter. I just closed on a house. What's your first step to following up with me?
Yeah, so you just closed on a house. So
Mhm.
a month later,
Woo!
I I follow up with you and kind of just do a check-in, like a check-in email, text.
Okay.
Hey, how's the neighborhood? Are you unpacked? All this stuff. Also,
Okay.
it gives me an opportunity to ask for a Google review. So that's the
Hmm.
first month. And then 3 months after they moved in, I send another email that says 3 months in your new home. And that's where I ask for a referral. I'm like, hopefully you're happy. Hopefully you love your home. If you know anybody that's looking to buy, lease, or sell, feel free to give them my contact or vice versa.
Okay. Okay.
And then 6 months, so 3 months after that email, I send you're halfway through your lease email. And that's like just starting to get the wheels turning. Like, okay, what are we going to do? Are we thinking about renewing? Are we
Mm,
thinking about buying? Or what's the
mm.
game plan? And then I do a follow up again, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month before your lease ends. So that's kind of how I do with renters. That's my follow up technique.
Okay.
So
So you don't necessarily do pop buys. It's more just kind of engaging online emails, text messages, things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
one thing I have started doing because I've worked with so many renters around the valley is I've
Hmm.
started when I'm driving or doing showings around town, I kind of I'm like, "Oh my God, Carrie lives in Surprise and I'm in
Mm.
Surprise. You know what? I'm going to
Yeah.
shoot her a text and say, "Hey, I'm in your neck of the woods, just thinking about you. Hope you're all is well. Hope the family's doing good." And just like a quick little touch. Like when I'm at a
Yeah.
stoplight, I know you shouldn't text and drive, but when I'm at a stoplight, I'm like, "Oh my God, you're nearby." So let me just do that little text. And sometimes it gets like a little hard, or sometimes it's like, oh my God, thank you for thinking of me.
Okay.
so
So
so,
you
so the
mentioned
key.
you.
Oh, sorry, go, Chris.
No, well, you mentioned like you don't ask for a review until a month in, and you don't ask for referrals until 3 months in. Are you
Mhm.
finding success getting the reviews after a month past closing, as opposed to doing it the day
Actually,
of?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because normally, like the day of, you're still kind of in packing, unpacking, moving.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
give it a month just to kind of, let everything settle down. So that's
Okay.
what I do. I've had success. I mean, not everybody gets, that email where it's
Sure.
like, give me a review because not all of the transactions were great. So
Right. Right. Okay.
but yeah, right
Uh,
now I have about like 38 Google reviews, so
Nice.
not
And
bad.
that's
oh,
not
that's
bad out of
awesome.
100 or so database. That's good. That's
Yeah,
really good. That's more than 20%. That's
yeah.
38%. See, I can do
And
math.
and I love how you're not afraid to ask for it, right? I think
Mhm.
some of us either we're afraid or we forget, right? But with your
Yeah,
system, it looks like, 1 month in, I'm asking for the review. 3 months in, I'm asking for the referral. 6 months in,
yeah,
I'm checking to see where they're at, right? And then
yeah,
from there, I just take it on. We
yeah.
have a question. What
Hmm.
systems do you use for your follow-up?
So I do have Brivity. So earlier this year, Nick let me do my own little templates through Brivity.
Oh,
So I put people on a drip. And you can like custom make it. I had
yeah.
ChatGPT help me. But also I like manually do it too. Like my calendar is my Bible. My Google
Mm.
calendar, it just has all of my follow-ups. And that's the first thing I do. The first hour of my day, I'm like, who needs a follow-up? And so I have a template and then I copy and paste it real quick. Sometimes I just send that out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I want a screenshot of your calendar. I want to see it.
Oh, I saw it the other
Yeah.
day. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Marco's seen
I was
it.
like,
It's
what is
it's a
going on
lot.
here? Like,
He's like, you're busy. I'm like, yeah, it's just a lot of tasks and follow up.
but here's a few years ago, somebody, I don't know who it was, one of those, gurus, whatever. They said, if I open up somebody's Google Calendar, I'm able to see how successful they are, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
or not successful, but how well they're doing in business, right? And
Mhm.
I mean, I believe that's true as well. If you're putting things organized, if you're constantly moving that, right? I think that's
Mm.
at some point you're going to get success, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Now,
I just think it helps me stay on top of people. Even if they renew for another year, I still put, when their lease ends. So just I'm on track of that and just make sure they're still getting their follow ups and stuff like that.
awesome. Now, can you tell us a little bit about, so most of us have probably not done the the volume of rentals as you have, right?
Mhm.
Um, and you've done a little bit of both, right? What are some of the things that surprised you about, the contracts or just the way the transaction goes with a rental versus a buy or sell?
Yeah. Yeah. Rentals are a lot easier. They're
Yeah.
quicker. And the thing is, we don't all with purchase contracts, we kind of just have our AAR contract and that's what we use. With property management, they have their own contract. So you have to read through their contract too and understand their contract. So there's multiple contracts that can be used for a lease. So that's interesting too.
Hmm.
Awesome.
I never knew that. Did you know that?
No, no, I had no idea. So it's kind of like a new build, right? They have their own contract.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Now
What's the what? Go ahead. Well,
go, Chris, go ahead.
so what's the average income you make from a renter?
Well, it really depends. I
That's why
mean,
I said
some of the,
average.
yeah, the average, I would say the average would be 300.
Yeah. Okay. And
Yeah.
because the reason I asked that, I want those that are watching this now, those going to watch it later, to understand. Basically do 38 by 300 and
Yeah.
understand the foundation that you're laying because
Hmm.
you truly are laying a great foundation
Yeah,
because all renters turn into buyers at some point in time.
Hmm.
So
yeah,
that's kind of cool how you're approaching that and the fact that you're willing to do the amount of work. Because to me, I look at renters as it's the same concept as buying a house.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
instead of this, I get this, which is why I just refer people to you now that want to that want to rent because
Hmm.
to me, it's not worth my time, but that's how you decided to build your business, start your business, which is great because everybody needs somebody like you because everybody likes, there's renters, there's sellers, there's buyers. So that's a good little niche you have for sure.
Yeah.
And the database you're
Yeah.
growing, which is fantastic. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Margo.
And oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're
well, I
good.
was just gonna say that I'm excited because I got to see Destiny in action on Saturday. So I brought
Oh,
her in on a deal. I have a client who is looking to sell but also rent, and so I'm like, hey, let's get Destiny involved.
mm-hmm.
So and I feel so confident that she's helping me out because, like I said, I really haven't done. I've done maybe one or two rentals, and I just don't feel versed in that, right? And so I'm excited to work with you and just to see what your process is and how you market the property and all those things. And speaking about
Yeah.
marketing,
Likewise.
you have you have wrote that you do a lot of social media, but it's not fancy. It's simple. Can you tell us a little bit about that, especially like
Yeah.
TikTok? I'm
Yeah,
really interested about
TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I always think it's funny because Nick is like, you're a TikTok guru. And I'm like,
Hmm.
I like keep my stuff simple, whatever works for me. And I just do home tours and I like to keep it in the broker hub family. So I'll, reach out to people who have vacant, cool listings. And I'm like, you know what? I want to do a home tour. And I just go in, I don't even talk or anything like that. I put a trendy song, I speed up when, I'm like walking to the door, and then I slow down and do a panorama. And that's just something that works for me. It's quick on CapCut. I can do it within 30 minutes. Put a trendy song, and yeah, people are interested in those. Even if I get a lot of DMs for rentals on TikTok.
Hmm.
Um, so even when I'm posting a house for sale, people are like, "Is this for rent?" I'm just like, "No, but I'll help you." So
Right.
my TikTok's very simple.
I get that. Whenever I do a listing, whenever I do what I do for listings, I always get, is this a rent? Like, no, it's not a rent. It's for sale, man.
Yeah,
Where does it say
yeah,
rent? Where does it say
I
rent?
know, I know. You're like the price for sale.
Right, right. It's like you want to rent it for $1 million a month? Sweet, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I this past week actually got like three referrals on TikTok. Just reached
Wow.
out and DM'd me. So
Wow. Well, they say
yeah.
TikTok's the new thing, right? I mean, Facebook's kind of for the old people now, like Mark and
Yeah.
Megan, but bump. Um, and Instagram's just not what it was before, right? I mean, I still do
Yeah.
Instagram daily posts, but I don't know how
You
it
don't
did.
really see too much from
Mm,
Instagram, but I
no.
would say definitely Facebook and TikTok. Those are
Yeah.
my two big ones that I get,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
leads from.
I used to call Facebook fishing because I could go in the morning and drop like 3 to 5 posts, random spots before it got what it is now. And by the end of the day, I'd have 15, 20 conversations, but that's not really the case anymore because it's all, it's just flooded with
Yeah.
ads. So you're seeing more of a response on TikTok than you are on Facebook?
Um, I think I'm more, yes, I just haven't been on Facebook as much.
Okay.
Facebook, so when I started out, I really utilized like Facebook groups. And
Yeah.
you really do see like in Facebook groups, especially East Valley, so I grew up in Ahwatukee,
Oh,
Ahwatukee
nice.
411, that Facebook group is huge. Everybody loves to post on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So when I would see somebody looking for a rental, I would just comment in there.
Oh,
Yeah, I would just, and I had a template. I was like, that I would DM. So it's just like, hey, like I'm Destiny. I help with rentals.
hmm.
Here's my information. I saw your post on Ahwatukee 411 at
Yeah.
whatever. And then I would comment in their post too, like, hey, I just messaged you. I'm a realtor who, works with rentals. And that started getting me some transaction or like some traction, I would say.
Yeah.
Wow. So as far as like your sphere, um, would you say that most of your leads that you're getting are from social media?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say
Really?
social media and then a lot of past client referrals and then agent
Mm.
referrals for, agents who don't want to work with the
Right.
renters.
I have
Yep.
one coming if they don't go to Dallas, just so you know.
Okay. Sounds good.
They want to be in Tempe as soon as because I always qualify when I list a house. Where are you going?
Hmm.
Well, we don't want to buy. We want to rent for you. I got somebody. Well, we may go to
Yep.
Dallas. I said, okay, but if you stay in Arizona, where do you want to be? Tempe. Okay, cool. Well, if we just got their house listed though, yes, or what day was
You,
that? On Friday, so it's a little ways
Yeah.
out.
Destiny,
Yeah.
that gives me a lot of hope because, so one of the areas that I constantly struggle to get any clients out of is social media,
Mhm.
right? I've always thought
Yeah.
of like my social media as like my it's to me it's like the new business card, right? If somebody's
Yeah.
gonna want to work with me, they're gonna go to my social media, they're gonna want to know a little bit about me, right? So I always keep it professional. I keep it kind of, but I am just for me, it's like in my mind, I'm like, I'm not gonna get clients, so why do it, right? But
Yeah.
I think hearing you say that this is where a lot of your sources come from,
Yeah.
gives me hope. I mean, with somebody in my position, like what would be piece of advice to an agent that wants to bump up their leads through social media?
I would say be more active, be consistent in
Mm.
posting. And I need to, listen to my own advice because I'm not as active as I should be. But just be active, post, videos. Don't be scared to post. That's a big
Mm-mm.
one too. So again, I know Chris does an awesome job with like,
Yeah.
his posting and all that stuff, and his followers he has a lot of followers. So I would just say be consistent with that. Comment on like your all your comments on your post. Just make sure you
Mhm.
kind of engage with people,
Mhm.
and then also along with engagement, kind of go and like be active
Mhm.
on your feed. Just kind of reach out
Mhm.
to people, follow local people, comment on other people's posts and their stories, and just kind of be active like that. Just maybe carve out 30 minutes in the day to really be active on social media and like engage.
All of that. If you do that first thing in the morning, if you do that
Mhm.
you get up and then the first half hour going, you all know how you can go to Facebook and go find your friends, right? And just focus on your friends' feeds. Did
Oh,
you?
no.
Okay. Okay. I'll show you. I'll make a video. I'll put the video
Okay.
on the
Yeah.
broker's hub page. But there's a way you can go into your profile and you can click friends and then just your entire feed is your friends. So by doing that, then you just for about half an hour or so, like I do it before little man comes over in the morning, I'll like a post or I'll go into their stories. I'll like a story. I'll comment on the story, even if it's just a haha or an LOL. Some type of
Yeah.
engagement goes on, and some days I'll end up having like 30 conversations all day long. Some days I'll have two. It just depends on what's there. Do the
Right.
same thing on Instagram because it works the same way, and it's
Yeah.
not so much of you pounding them over the head. I want your business. I want your business. It's more you're just top of mind. You're staying relevant with them. There's a couple
Exactly.
tricks with Instagram, and I'm learning this on TikTok now too. Instagram, you can schedule reels. So you can schedule your posts every day. So I try to schedule mine out 7 days ahead of time. Kind of like when I blog, I'll blog 7 days ahead of time on LinkedIn and Active Rain. YouTube, the Chris and Mike shows YouTube. We have 3 different things of content dropping every single day because we have so much content from when we do our episodes. It's not the same with my personal stuff because it's just not. But if you're kind of weary, like I don't want to commit to posting something on Instagram every single day, you can schedule it out. It's simple. It's on your
Yeah.
phone. When you scroll down after you're posting your reel, it'll say more info is where you can schedule it. So you can schedule it out.
Wow.
I've learned on TikTok because the Christian Mike show, he wants to go on TikTok. I learned on TikTok on the desktop version, you can schedule out as well. You can't do it on the phone, which is frustrating, but you can do it on the desktop. So unless I'm wrong, Destiny, can you schedule TikTok on your phone? I saw
I
your eyes
that
light
I'm
up.
unsure of.
Okay.
No, that I'm unsure of. Also, I was thinking like I didn't know you can access TikTok on a desktop.
You can. You just type in you log in and then it legit
Yeah,
lets you. Yeah,
yeah, I
I was
bet,
blown
but I
away.
just wouldn't have guessed to
Yeah.
use TikTok
Yeah.
on my computer.
Yeah. No, it's kind of cool with the platform that I use for the podcast, Riverside. I can click the TikTok button and I have to just use my phone to, I'm on, but then I can schedule it
Yeah,
out. But
yeah,
to me, it's not as easy as Instagram because legit, if you use captions, everybody should have captions by now. If you don't get it,
yeah.
there's another free app, a Meta AI. Get that because that's cool too. You guys have probably seen the video of little man swimming in the backyard irrigation, and all of a sudden he swims underneath, and Aquaman's going on. That was Meta AI, like legit. That
Oh,
got
that's
like
cool.
almost 2,000 views because like I never knew it was underneath my backyard until irrigation day.
Yeah.
So those little things, it's engagement. It's not always business related. It's just engagement. So when you're doing your TikTok stuff and your Facebook and Instagram, it's not always real estate rise white. It's some of it's just who you are. Here I am. I'm a person. I'm a human. I'm not just a businesswoman.
Well, I have like my business Instagram and
Okay.
TikTok, and then I have my personal. So I
Okay.
do separate them.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah,
You
I
don't
do
blend it.
separate. I don't blend it.
How
No,
come? How
no.
come?
When I started, I was like, I'm gonna have my business Instagram, and then I just let it be. And then
Okay.
I like having my personal one just be like close friends and family.
Okay.
yeah.
You don't want to
Yeah.
show the world you're a human,
Yeah. Well, also
All those
I think
parties.
yeah, I
right?
know. I think it might be a millennial thing too, because I've met
Hmm.
some people similar to my age where they do have, 2 separate accounts too. So
Huh.
I'm like,
It
I don't
could
know.
be.
I don't know if that's like a millennial thing or I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Chris, you did mention having captions, and I did see something on Instagram this morning, which I didn't know. So Instagram now can translate to different languages. So you just have to
Yes.
have your captions, and then it will
Hmm.
translate to different languages, which I think
Yep.
is cool for bilingual people.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. And
Definitely.
Heijian too. Heijian and captions now will let you go in and they'll change your language on the app itself. So
Yeah.
if you yeah, so but then you have that problem if I post a thing in Mandarin, then somebody calls me up, starts Mandarin, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah. That's where you have a good Mandarin agent, and you're like, I know
Right,
just the person.
right. Because Google Translate doesn't work over the phone. It's only in person.
Yep.
Destiny, you wrote something that don't ignore the small leads.
Yeah.
Um, can you talk to us a little bit about that? Like, what do you mean by that?
So I still think about, like renters, like for me, don't ignore them. Don't just like push them off. If you're comfortable working with renters, take them on as a client. It's for renters, it's the long game. Take those on if you're comfortable. If not, I'm always happy to take them, and that can still be your lead. You just have to follow up with them.
Hmm.
And then people who are, have a low price bracket as a buyer, if they have something low or wanting to, purchase like a small manufactured home, still work with them.
Hmm.
I feel like any business is good business and they're going to refer you. So who knows? Maybe they know someone who is, wealthy and they are like, I had a great agent.
Hmm.
Yeah, you just never know, right? You just never know. It like,
Mhm.
one of I've only done 2 rental transactions, right? Um, and one of them I did was because I knew it was a long-term. He had just divorced. He was a
Mm,
lawyer, he was going through a messy divorce. But I knew at some
yeah,
point, once he got back on his feet, he was going to buy a really nice house, right?
Hmm.
yeah,
And,
exactly.
so I helped him rent, right? And yeah, 2 years later, you bought a nice house with me, right? That's
Yeah.
that wasn't a small lead, but to your point, it's like, I could have been like, you know what? Call me in 2 years, right? When you're ready to buy. But,
Yeah.
I knew that at some point he was going to buy, right?
Yeah.
And and just to your other point is like, you just never know who's connected to who, right?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. My first buyer was a past client who rented from me. And she was a cash buyer. And I was
Nice.
like, that's awesome. Yeah. So
Wow.
it just works out. All pretty much all of my past clients turned into buyers. So I had a couple of buyers and most of them were past clients.
That's fantastic. And that's the database you're building, and that's the pipeline of business you're building. Because I'm going to assume once you start getting heavier on the purchase side, you're still going to deal with the rentals because your blueprint is proving
Yeah.
itself, and it will continue to do that over time. And back to your point of nothing's a small lead. I had a phone call one day, true story. They were calling on like a $42,000 condo, um, I don't know, in Mesa.
Yeah.
It ended up spending $1.2 million dollars in a time where $1.2 million dollars was not relevant in the valley because you just never saw it. That we weren't in that
Mhm.
market yet. It was, you could type in $1 million homes in the MLS and you'd have maybe like 20. And that
Wow.
was a $42,000 sign call.
Yeah.
So yes, every phone call is an opportunity to make money. Now, of course, when it comes to renters, I'm just gonna give them to you because but that's a really good point. It's just
Yeah.
every phone call is an opportunity, and it's just however you pursue the opportunity is up to your own personal agenda, I guess
Yeah.
you'd call it. So yeah,
Exactly. And I'm not trying to get rid of my referral leads, but
no.
if anybody wants to, work if they have a renter client or someone who reaches out, like I'm happy to help. I'm happy to help with the walk
Oh,
you through and everything. Um, but if you're not comfortable, send them to me and I'm happy to take them on too.
I liked what you said too earlier. As long as you follow up with them, they'll be your client. Because if you don't follow up with
Exactly.
them, Destiny will.
Yeah.
I will take
Marco.
them.
Destiny,
Yeah.
I was looking at your growth strategy for next year, and I saw something that I think is really awesome and something that I implemented when I first started. It's like you have like, I don't know if people can see it, but like, every day of the week you're doing something different. And the I think it's so smart because I felt when I first started real estate, right?
Mhm.
It was overwhelming. It was like option paralysis, right? Because all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're your own CEO, you're the CFO, you're the marketing director, you're the
Mhm.
person driving around, you have to learn all these contracts. It was just overwhelming, right? So I got to the
Yeah.
point where I felt like, okay, if I just on Mondays, if I just focus on buyers, anything I do with buyers, I can just focus on Monday buyers, Tuesday sellers, right? Wednesday,
Yeah.
whatever, right? And so
Yeah.
you have this kind of set up almost for kind of like social media as well. Like you have your
Show
content.
that show that again,
Yeah,
Marco.
yeah. Let me see. Can you guys see it?
Yeah, keep it there, because I want people to see it. So Monday's
Yeah.
content day, Tuesday's lead follow-up day, Wednesday's sphere outreach, Thursday's transaction updates slash organization, Friday's personal touches, which are handwritten cards, check-in, pop buys, or open house prep. That's a nice weekly to-do list. Good job, Destiny.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And I'm still honing in and trying to figure out like what I want to do each day. But I think the idea of having a theme day is perfect because sometimes, like on a Tuesday, I have nothing on my calendar and I'm like, what do I do? And then I get overwhelmed with everything and then I procrastinate and I do everything but work. So I'm like, if I actually have it's like Tuesday and I'm like, okay, Tuesday is going to be all my lead follow-ups, then that's what I'm going to do that day.
That's
And
nice.
I don't have to worry about it.
And we're all guilty of that, right? We're all
Yeah.
guilty of you wake up one day and you're not motivated because what we do is hard enough as it is, waking up unemployed
Yeah.
every day. But then you have to
Yeah.
have that internal drive and internal motivation. And there's not one single person that can raise their hand in this meeting and say, oh, every day I'm motivated and every day I'm doing productive things. I call them ICA income or IPA income producing activities. We know we
Mhm.
have to do them, but we get in our own
Yeah.
way. And then all of a sudden it's 6 o'clock at night because it's human nature. So it's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I like how you have that set up. Good for you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so that's the goal for 2026 to kind of keep me on task, I guess, and productive.
love that.
Nice.
I love that.
Do you see the question, Marco, we have from Sherry?
Yeah. So Sherry says, can you talk about rental listings? How do you screen potential tenants?
Yeah, so I use Smart Move, and that's $47, and it's through TransUnion. And the tenant will pay, or the applicant will pay for that. And it's pretty quick. You get the results back immediately. And it does, credit, background, and then income, but you just ask for proof of income. So I use that. I also know Nick uses Zumper. So I've been playing around with trying to use that as well. But Smart Move is my go-to screening at the moment.
Cool.
And as you're getting those screenings, like what are some of the obvious red flags or some things to look out for? Because you want the best for
Yeah,
your clients, right? So what are
yeah.
some of the baselines that you're looking for?
Yeah, and I'm sure Mark and Megan can chime in too. But a big thing is evictions, recent evictions. That's, number one red flag. Let's see, how much debt to income they have. Like, what are they not paying? That's a big thing. So you'll look to see, why aren't they paying their Cox bill that's $35 a month or something like that? Like, what's going on here? Um, so yeah, just really kind of looking and like fine combing through the credit reports. That's a big one.
Got it, got it. And it, this service is it like is it a monthly subscription or is it like per screen?
No, yeah, per screening. And luckily you don't have to pay anything out of your pocket. The tenants will pay for their screening.
Nice.
You just have to have an account. And
Hmm.
so that's all you have to do and just send them a link and they'll take care of the rest.
Awesome, awesome. That's good to know. That's really good
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was, I think we're all guilty of this, and avoid comparing your business to everyone else's business. You
Mm.
talked a lot about that, and can you just elaborate on how that has helped you grow your own business by not comparing yourself to others?
Yeah, I think I put that in and I'm still trying to practice that because I am so guilty of comparing myself to others. You follow people on Instagram and you're like, oh my God, they're
Mm.
so successful. They're like doing so great. Here I am just working rental leads. And I'm like, you know what? These leads have helped me. These leads have
Mm.
boosted me this year. And I'm in a position where I'm happy where I'm at. So I need to stop comparing myself and say, like, oh my God, they're successful, they're luxury agent now. It's like, you know what, I'm doing what I'm doing to be happy.
Yeah, and
So
you're going to get to where they are because the foundation you're laying is so unique from most of us that took the path into real estate, right?
yeah,
So, you're going to find yourself in 10 years, people are going to be looking at you like, holy shit, she started just doing rentals. Now she's driving a Bentley, she's selling $1 million houses. Megan and Mark made a comment that comparison is the thief of joy.
yeah.
And I think that's a great statement. Nice job because, just focus on you, do you, because what you're doing is fantastic and your approach to things are
Hmm.
fantastic. The systems you have in place that Marco's been sharing are obviously working because here you are 4 years into doing rentals and you have turned some of those into buyers and you're going to continue doing so.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about comparing yourself to anybody but yourself because your model is pretty cool for where you started and where you're going. And you've already mentioned, you've had people turn from renters to buyers. Now, are all the purple people you've worked with from a buyer standpoint, have they all come from renters, or is there any other type of sphere referral type thing, or were they all renters to start with?
I had one this year that was a sign call from actually Sam Miller sign, and he was out of town, so he sent me over
Woohoo!
that lead.
Oh,
Nice.
So
cool.
yeah, I ended up making that one work. But
Cool.
other than that, no, they are past renters. And then one other client, I actually showed them a rental, one of our Brokers Hub rentals,
Hmm.
and they ended up buying. So I
Oh,
was like, oh, this is great. So I
right
guess
on.
they were looking at a rental, but I converted them.
That's good.
Yeah.
Destiny, can you talk a little bit about, because I have no idea, because can you talk a little bit about the rental market here in Phoenix, like what it's done, what you see that's gonna in the future? Obviously, some places rent is just crazy, right? Can you
Hmm.
just chime in a little bit on the rental market for our perspective?
Yeah. So the rental market's still high in Phoenix, but I have seen, I mean, 2, 3 years ago, it was crazy. Just the rental prices were absurd.
Mm.
And I think that's kind of like, how the market was too, just with COVID and everything. So I would list homes, 3,200, and they were easily probably closer to 2,700. But we
Wow.
would get people that would rent for that, just because people were looking. Now, those homes that are wanting to relist, I'm like, the market's not the same. You're
Mm.
going to have to decrease your price because we're not going to get it. So
Mm.
I've been seeing more homes sit on the market and they're not renting for what they are listed at.
Mm.
So, yeah,
Okay, so there is some compression on the rental side as well.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. And do you think that's due to, what do you think that's due to? Just they were just overpriced and they're just auto corrected?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think it's auto correcting because we were at a moment where things were just a crazy price wise, even
Hmm.
in, the sales aspect. It was
Yeah,
prices were high. And now I think it's just like people are realizing, hey, I'm not going to rent for this price. I can find something else. And so yeah, I think it's just auto correcting at this point.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think Phoenix is always growing, right? And it's kind of like
Hmm.
those things where, I think a lot of people move here and they start to rent just to kind of get their bearings, right? And then they end up buying. But, to your point, if they're pretty close to that price point of a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, might as well just buy something, but with this auto correction, maybe we start seeing that again, right? We start seeing
Yeah.
people coming into town, renting for 6 months, a year, and then buying.
Yeah.
Do you have,
And
do you have, I'm sorry, go ahead. No,
go ahead.
finish your statement, Destiny, then I'll ask.
Oh, I was going to say, and I do help with a lot of relocation. So, those, especially California people, they're like, the prices here are great. So
Mm.
they love
Mm.
it here. So I'm like, okay, well, let's buy.
Do you have any idea what like if I talk to 100 people for buy like if I'm approaching like making phone calls for finding a buyer, right?
Mhm.
So I use the 10% rule. So if I talk to 100 people, 10 of them are going to actually be ready, willing, and able to buy, but only one of those is actually be able to qualify, right? And be
Yeah.
able to pursue it. Do you see that same type of trend when you're dealing with rental leads? Like if you get 20 rental leads today, how many of those actual rental leads are going to actually be able to pursue something based on, what you talked about earlier, debt to income, credit, all that kind of jazz?
I think it's a lot lower, honestly.
Really?
Renters are hesitant. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially first time buyers. They're very hesitant. Just because the
Okay.
market, everything going on in the news, they're
Hmm.
unsure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say it's a lot less. And then just kind of having that conversation. And for me, I don't like to be pushy. I don't like
Right.
to, do that because if you are, then they're like, no, I absolutely don't want to like buy.
Yeah.
So
I can't imagine being pushy anyway. So if you have 100 rental leads, out of that, how many are going to actually be able to rent then? Less than 1%?
to rent,
Yeah.
oh no, people can
Yeah.
rent for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
but
Okay.
trying
I
to
think,
find a
yeah.
buyer,
No, I think you
yeah.
misunderstood my question.
Oh, sorry.
I was meaning if you got 100 rental leads today, of those
Yes.
100 rental leads, how many of those would actually end up being able to rent based on all the outside
To rent, I would
circumstances?
say, yeah, I would say it would probably be like 10 to
Okay.
15% of
Oh,
those.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So a
Yeah.
little higher than the buyer side. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is there more work from your end getting them through that qualifying process of being able to rent? Whereas, and what I mean by that is like if I called you up as a first time home buyer, if you're living and breathing and I'm on the phone with you, I'm turning you, I call it a flip. I'm flipping you into a potential client. By the time we get
Hmm.
off the phone, I have you connected with a lender via text, all that kind of jazz.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with the renters, it's your approach to it. Are you seeing a quick ones, the ones that you realize that can do this? Is it a quick flip, or is it you still got to nurture a little bit?
It really depends, honestly, on their timeline.
Okay.
So if they're looking to find a rental, in the next couple of weeks or, a month, then
Yeah.
yeah, I can easily, work with them and convert
Okay.
them. If it's, 4 months from now, then you definitely have to nurture that lady and you can't
Mm,
forget about them. And that's where
right.
your follow-up works.
Right. Exactly. And that's a
Destiny,
lot of, yeah, that's a lot of follow-up for a potential rental lead, but it's still indicative of what you're doing with your business model. So that's good.
Yeah.
Nice
Yeah.
job.
And it's a quick text, a lot of times
Mm,
like, hey, did you see anything? Or don't
mm,
forget your MLS listing. I just saw these new posts or these new rentals pop up on the
yeah.
market.
Cool.
Destiny, how do you handle this situation? We've all had those buyers where you send them properties, they're interested in them, and you're like going to, 20 properties, right? And you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, like, this is the one you like, this is, and I, in my mind, I'm like thinking like, well, I know that at some point they're gonna buy, right? And they're gonna end up pulling the trigger, and then it's gonna be a nice paycheck, right?
Yeah.
But in your instance, right? How do you deal with those renters that want to go visit 10, 15, 20 properties, right?
Yeah.
And the paycheck isn't as big as a sale. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you handle those situations like that?
I still do it. I've gotten to a point where I'm like, you know what, I had some sales under my belt, so I'm comfortable still
Mm,
working with, the low price or like, what the small commissions I do get. And I just have to think to myself, like, mm, potential something in the
hmm.
future, maybe they'll buy, maybe they'll
Yeah.
know somebody who's looking to buy or who's in the market now. So you
Yeah.
just kind of have to get over it. It's annoying. No, I totally
Yeah.
understand. Yeah, it's
You're
very
always thinking
annoying.
long term, right? You're thinking like
Yeah,
down the line,
yeah. And
yeah,
I
Well,
mean,
okay.
it's hard in the summertime when it's like 120 and
Mhm.
people don't have the AC on in the rentals, and you're like, why am I doing
Oh,
this? But you have
yeah,
to think long term.
well,
yeah,
and it drops your hour per, because we all look at our per hour wage, right? When
Yeah,
you have a really smooth transaction, you're making $1,000 an hour. When you're having
yeah.
somebody that's just needy as all get out, in your world, you're making $10 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, I mean, I could
Mm-hmm.
see how that would be frustrating just from a human nature aspect of it. So, there's another little kudos to you for kind of mustering
Thank
through
you.
that and realizing, okay, eye on the prize. The end game is this person's going to end up buying a house at some point in time, and or they're going to recognize the work I'm putting forth, and they're going to refer me other renters and other potential sellers and buyers. So that's cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And a lot
I
of my
would.
renters are like, I didn't even know you can work with a realtor for a rental. And I'm like, yeah. And then they're so
Oh,
impressed with, the work that I do and like all the stuff. They're just so appreciative. So
that's
it's
cool.
great.
That's You're
Yeah.
laying that foundation, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
We are about 10 minutes away. Does anybody have any questions for Destiny while we're at this point in time of elevating your voice? I'm checking.
I am just amazed at how strong your pipeline is going to be and is, right? I mean, you have a pipeline that I think a lot of us would love to have. People who have already worked with us, right?
Yeah.
People who trust us, right?
Yeah.
People who know that we know that at some point, they're either going to refer us or they're going to end up buying, right? And we
Mhm.
don't
Yeah.
we don't have to we don't have to sell them anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's one
Yeah.
of those things where that pipeline is so strong, and I think to your point, it's the follow up is the key, right? The follow up is the key to your success
Yeah.
and to anybody's success, right? If you're not following up, the next agent's going to come in and swoop it up, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I still do follow-ups with my buyers too. I still do like a monthly check-in, like
Mm.
1 month anniversary, 2 month anniversary, and now it's like your year. So you always just you have to follow up with these people, send out birthday cards. I still like to do
Mhm.
handwritten cards. I'm not as busy, so I'll still like write a handwritten card. And send those out. People do like that. If you're in their area, shoot them a text, be like, hey, I
Mhm.
was just thinking about you. People do appreciate that.
Yep, absolutely.
Love
Yeah.
it, love
Anything,
it.
any other insight you want to share with us?
I don't think so, unless anybody has any input on like their follow-ups or what they're doing. I would love to hear and collaborate.
Well, I just wanted to say one thing that I think is genius
Hmm.
about what you're doing. And Yeah, I hear what you're saying about like when you're running somebody around town and looking at 20 rentals and you're like, oh, I'm going to make $300 on this. Like, am I
Yeah.
even covering my gas? But when I think about what I'm spending on, um, strong follow up, right? Maybe past clients, but by the time I send how many print pieces, by the time I send them
Mm.
a little gift around the holidays, by the
Yeah.
time I, I mean, I'm hundreds of dollars into like nurturing per lead, and you're getting paid at least a couple $100 to do the same thing. Plus
Yeah.
you're getting the face to face, and the face to face is always, this has been true since the beginning of
Mm.
communications and the beginning of time, that face to face is absolutely 100% the most effective method. So I think it's genius that you're actually getting paid to generate your future
Yeah,
lead. Like it,
yeah,
Yeah, that is really good because we've
Thank
talked,
you.
like Nick and I were talking about that last week, that when he sends out his Girl Scout cookies, it's, it's $4,000 or $5,000 thing he does,
Yeah.
and he'll only get, 5 to 10% thanking him for it. So, and we talked about that too with birthday cards. It's like your ego wants them to respond, thank you for the birthday card, even though you're doing your due diligence, you're staying in contact, you're staying in front of them, you're staying top of mind. Our
Yeah.
egos are still wanting some type of acknowledgement of that moment,
Yeah.
whether it's, and you get that a lot quicker, I think, with how you're doing it with the text messages, the emails, and the phone calls and things like that, because you've already laid that foundation from the word go. So that's another key point that Megan just made, is you're not spending money, you're just spending time, and time is our
Yeah.
most valuable asset. So when you do that, I like when I do it, I thank them for their time. Hey, thank you. I appreciate you reaching out, telling me you got your card. I know time is valuable. So that's another good insight. Nice job, Megan.
well, and I also just want to make the point that Destiny has figured out how to get in with a generation that is not buying
Oh,
at the same
yeah.
window of time that we did. I mean, if the average age of a first time home buyer is now 38,
Yep.
and Destiny is figuring out how to get in,
oh,
define
yeah,
herself as an
In the,
expert, as a credible source for this demographic. And, yes, we have a lot of older clients. Thank you for pointing that out earlier. It's not
we
a
all
bad,
have older clients, man.
because they're old and they have money, but they're
Right.
also probably looking at one, maybe two
Mhm.
more transactions
Yeah,
at this
Yeah.
true.
stage in their life. Like they're not at
Hmm.
the beginning of that churn, which does come
Nope.
more on the front end of
Yeah.
working with somebody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Destiny, I just think your business plan is, it's so smart, and
Hmm.
it
Thank you.
really, the way you're working it is really impressive.
And now that you
Thank
bring up
you.
the first time buyer age, because we've talked about that before, that is you're filling that gap.
Yeah.
Because right
I
from
mean,
out of
I'm part of
college,
that.
right?
Yeah.
What's what I'm saying. So when you graduate from college, what are you, like 21, 22, 23 range, right?
Yeah.
And then that's wow. See, now you split that spin on it, Megan. That's even more brilliant for you there, Destiny, because that's a gap, and you're gonna fill
Yeah.
that gap. That's
Yeah. And a lot of
nice.
my clients, we are similar in age. They are,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah,
millennials or Gen Z and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's just trying to get them ready for the next step.
yeah.
Love it,
Which
love it.
which then you come across as a lot less threatening because you're here with them.
Yeah.
You're same age bracket, same kind of mindset in life, same. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
cool. Look at
Yeah.
you.
Tell you what.
That's
Well, thank you so much, Destiny, for being with us.
yes.
And see, it wasn't
Yeah.
that bad, right?
Mm-mm.
It wasn't that bad. And thank you for volunteering me to come on. I
You're
appreciate it.
you're very
And
welcome.
I do have to say thank you both for doing this because you guys got me out of my comfort zone.
Good.
And helped me grow and kind of talk a little bit more about like what I do. And so I do appreciate the both of
Yeah,
you.
and thank you. We appreciate your time very much. And I knew you were going to be good at this because of everything that you do, and I watch you do when I'm at the office. So,
Oh,
kudos
thank
to
you.
you. And then next week we have Megan. Megan's coming on the show. She'll be up in Munns Park, but we're going to talk all kinds of fun things about her past property management career and how she's transitioning from that into just regular real estate. So it's kind of playing off you, like you started the whole conversation with the renters and stuff. Now we're going to go that way, and then just take it to a whole nother level, which is kind of neat. So it's back to back kind of a focus on the property managers slash renters, I think is good because I learned a lot from you today. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot from Megan. So, anybody else have anything they want to chime in, say, chat before we wrap things up and say goodbye?
No, happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving. Sherry says, thank you so much for sharing. Yes, you did an awesome job sharing. And,
Thank
you,
you.
you should start a podcast, Destiny. I don't know.
Maybe, who
The
knows?
rental world with Destiny Northington,
The rental
build,
queen.
yeah,
The
build
rental
that
queen.
way. You should do webinars. Think about webinars, doing webinars for renters, and then you can just transition those all into buyers too.
Yeah, yeah. Some
Just
thought.
saying, right? Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Have a safe Thanksgiving week. And we'll see you all next Monday. And then I'll have Destiny's show popping up tomorrow on the Brokers Hub page by about 10 a.m. Cool? All right. Now I got to stop recording. Stop.